So welcome everybody and those that are new to this meeting. We do hold it the third Thursday of every month, and you're welcome to join at any time. The link that we sent tonight should be the same link each month, so you can copy that and paste it in your calendar if you want to make sure you don't miss it. We try and send out reminder notices, but traveling and unexpected things, sometimes you don't get that, and I just want to make sure you know that you can access it by using the same link each time. And we'll start with the website in Millie, but let me give a precursor to that. So, I know, Brother Wickham is not on. Is that correct? I don't see him.
No, I don't think he is.
Okay. So Brother Wickham is taking over a course for Becky Davies on the Communication Council. For those that might not know that yet. And in going over all the different programs, we took a look at the website that we currently use for the emergency response program here in San Diego. And we're determining, even though the information on there is pertinent to the program that we are trying to encourage stakes and wards to use, and all the outlines of job callings and responsibilities are all on there. Some of the training information is a bit outdated, and we kind of came to a stall with being able to update the website and having someone in play that could manage that for us. And after kind of a year and a half hiatus, Millie Swain, who created the website to begin with, way back in, what did we decide, Millie? It was like 2014 or 15 or something. She is back on board, and we are in the process of revamping it. But again, most of that information will stay. It will just be an updated website with easier links and hopefully easier navigation. So Millie, if you're still with us, I will turn the time over for you to give us that little bit of update. We've had one meeting so far, and she's going to let you know what's going on.
You're muted, Millie. Millie, are you there? Your phone is muted right now. There we go.
How about now?
We hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Still muted? Okay,
Yes.
Great. Okay, good. I'm in my car at my son's house, so the Wi-Fi and everything's a little different here. But yes, so I'll be working on the website. We developed it, I think, in 2014. So it's quite ancient as far as the technology. And I am running into a few problems. So it looks like I need to get a hold of Brother Davies, the one that, I'm sorry, what is his first name? Justin?
Jake.
Jake Davies, who owns the software that we're using, and see if I can do some support, some tech support, because I can't get a hold of tech support without his credentials. So that's where I'm at. If we get a hold of Jake and that doesn't help, then we'll have to just redo the website and collect all the content and then just put it in a new format. So that's where we're at.
But it will be accessible still for viewing, right?
Yes, it'll be in the same state it is right now.
Like I say, everything's kind of there, not necessarily in the order we want it in, but first steps for stakes and wards to get started in the callings and the responsibilities, and an emergency response council, what that would look like, who all the players would be, and all the links to church resources and so forth and so on.
The problem is the interface. So the fonts and the symbols do not come up when you're trying to edit the website. And so it's really hard to figure out, you know, where the save is, where the trash is, you know, changing anything, and because all of those controls are missing. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Millie. I just wanted everybody to to be introduced to you. And again, if there's content once we get this up and rolling that we need to add, that we want it to have an active calendar that you can share board or even community information, that we use this website as a resource on a regular basis. So eventually we'll get there. But all right, that's all I have on that for now.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
And so we'll be making progress with that pretty soon, hopefully.
Great.
So.
And I'll make Millie's email and contact information available if anyone has questions or wants to.
Yeah, and it's millie.swain@gmail.com. And I'm the iPhone. Sorry about that. So.
Okay. Thank you, Millie.
Okay. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll be checking in again soon.
Okay. Super. I want the Blakes, if you could introduce yourself and kind of tell us your calling and what you know about emergency response as it pertains to the mission and your calling, and what you'd like to see support-wise from us.
Well, we're the Blakes. We're serving in the San Diego mission. Sister Blake is the housing coordinator. I'm the finance secretary. And we took over, like was said, from the Jensens. And we literally were told 2 days ago that there was a meeting and we should attend. So that's about all we know about what is going on here. Now, we've served in various ward and state callings all our adult lives, and so we're well familiar with emergency preparedness and how that works generally on a ward, on a stake, on a regional level. And we understand we are supposed to plug into this committee or this group so that we can participate and make sure our mission is coordinated with everyone else if there's an emergency. So we're looking forward to figuring out how that works and the specifics of what role we can play. So we're glad to participate.
Perfect. I just wanted to get verification of that, and we'll talk a little bit later in this meeting about communication, but specifically Elder Clark's worried about how we're going to communicate in a big emergency. So while we definitely still encourage preparedness and talk about that often, we're more focused on response and how we're going to respond after an emergency and collect the information we need and forward that on, especially if there's no power, which is quite often here in San Diego, and other things are down. So that's kind of an ongoing piece that's always moving parts that we're fluidly working with and changing. But we want the mission home to be, a part of that communication. And I know in the past, housing, they had provided 72-hour kits in each of the apartments. And then we had been working with wards and stakes, having updated communication for missionaries within their boundaries so they would know how to get a hold of them, especially ones that might serve in their boundary but live outside the boundary, those kind of tricky things that kind of happen. So we'll focus more on that later, but those are kind of some key components that are in play right now that we want to make sure don't slip through the cracks and we keep maintaining.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Then, Sister Jimenez, did you want to give us a brief overview then of, or not a brief, all the information we need to know about the Bishop Storehouse closing and what you think, anything else that you think we should be informed about?
Yeah, it'll be quick. So the presiding bishopric approved the Bishop Storehouse's closure and it was slated for the end of the first quarter, and that meant transitioning it to the grocery store program. But due to a roof water leak, the closing process was accelerated. So today, stake presidents, bishops, Relief Society presidents, and elders quorums received instructions on the grocery store model. Basically, those who are receiving assistance will be able to pick up bishop's orders at a local grocery store. And as far as emergency preparedness, we don't anticipate any challenges with emergency response because leaders will still continue to work through the Welfare and Self-Reliance Manager. That's where we're at. Employment is still going to operate out of their space at the Storehouse just until they've found a place to work out of. So for now, they'll be at their office there. That's all I have. You have any questions?
Yeah, let's open it up for questions. Maybe everybody was already aware of this, and this isn't new information. Now's the time. If you have any other questions, even if it's not pertaining to the storehouse that you've been waiting to ask Sister Jimenez, now's the time.
Sister Jimenez, this is Jerry Hansen. I was wondering what's happened to all the foods and things that are up there. Have they all been distributed out of there as of this time?
Good question, Jerry. We are planning to donate all of the food items that are still in the storehouse. We are coordinating that. I believe that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, but the plan is to donate all of the remaining food and possibly some of the fixtures to nonprofits in the area.
So has most of the stuff been already picked over up there? Do you know? I mean, I don't know exactly when all this occurred, or not sure how many people have been up there to salvage the place out and get rid of most everything that's already in there at this point.
Not yet, Jerry. It's still there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Nikki Cross, I have a question.
Hi, Mickey. Yeah.
So, did I understand or misunderstand you? Are they planning on opening another Bishop Storehouse and Home Storage Center somewhere else, or did I just misunderstand it? Because I thought that they were just going to let people with a home storage center just buy online, but I wasn't sure about the Bishop Storehouse.
Yeah, so home storage will go online, like you said, and the storehouse will transition to grocery store program, which means the storehouse will be permanently closed.
Can you share with us what that means, the grocery store program, for those that might not know?
Yeah, so bishops will not, leaders will still order on the BOS system so they can access that through LCR. So the same way that they used to order before, they're going to use that same system. Instead of choosing to fulfill the order through the San Diego storehouse, they will now fulfill that order through a local grocery store. Probably Walmart or, any one of the local grocery stores that the storehouse contracts with.
Sister Jimenez and Mike Guyman here.
Hi, Mike.
So it sounds to me like they're going to do like a order for pickup rather
Yes.
than just a debit card.
Yep, it's going to work the
That sounds
exact
great.
same
Yeah.
way as it did before, and they were picking up at Storehouse. Just now, the pickup is going to be at a local grocery store, and missionaries. Well, no, local grocery store, and recipients will pick it up. They'll choose the date and time that they're going to pick it up, and the order will be prepared by the grocery store, and then the recipient or the patron, I guess, will just pick it up. Nothing will be charged to the local units. It will be charged as it usually is with
Mhm.
bishop's orders.
Well, this is really so much better because I live in Claremont. I mean, the Bishop Storehouse is not far away. And so our stake is, it's right in the center of it. But I feel for my heart goes out to those in Imperial Valley
Yeah.
because that's a long drive for them, and they're in a situation where probably the gas is an issue as well. So I think this is a brilliant way to handle this.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With that being said, will that maybe transition down the road for most Bishop Storehouse, or just depending on the need?
It just depends on the need. But the Bishop Central Storehouse in Mariloma is still open, Marietta is still open, Colton is still open. I think I can share this because it's already in the presiding bishoprics minutes. LA is also going to be closing. That area is just not safe. I don't know if any of you are familiar with where the LA Bishop Storehouse is, but it's right there in downtown LA. And it's been a safety issue for a long time now. And so finally going to address that through the grocery store program.
Mr. Jimenez, this is Jerry Hansen again. Is this new way of doing this, or I guess it's called new way, is it already implemented, or are we keeping it the same way until such point as the stake presidents and bishops get the changeover date, or how's that going to work then?
The changeover date is this Saturday.
Okay. Reason I'm asking is I have my wife who's in the Relief Society presidency of our ward here, and
Yeah.
she's kind of going, well, wait a minute, what are we going to do and how's this going to work? And so she kind of got in late on the conversation, so I'm just going to try to explain to her that really the preparation to order it and everything has not changed. It's just
Right.
where we're going to pick up the food has changed.
That is an excellent summary, Jerry. And let her know that an email went out from the Bishop Storehouse to all Relief Society presidents. Is she the Relief Society president, Jerry?
No, she's a counselor, first counselor.
Yeah.
It's Michelle Dowden is the Relief Society president.
Yeah, so
And
Sister Dowden should have received an email today with the go live date and instructions for ordering, which will basically be the same except for picking up.
perfect. I apologize. Thank you. We're out of town. We're up in Oregon, and Michelle's down there, so we really haven't had any correspondence with anybody today.
Does she have any more other questions, Jerry?
Do you have any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
I guess the last question I had then, can you just briefly give an overview of, in an emergency response situation, we're still ordering from Mariloma, anything, nothing?
And in an emergency response situation, I am your contact. So your first conversation will be with me. And then we'll go from there.
Perfect. And with that being said, really you only speak to bishops or stake presidents, or just stake presidents?
Yes.
So we're
Stake
going
presidents.
our priesthood leadership, and they contact
Stake presidents, yes.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I thought this might be a good transition period to talk about LA and
Terry.
Yes, go ahead, Erlene.
Hi, I have my hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Erlene Hooker. Good evening. Sister Jimenez, we had actually been getting information here the last several days. My husband's on the High Council, and so we've actually been getting some of this information. So it's grateful to not come in here blind. But I did want to let you know, I don't know if it'll make a difference because of any food product that you still have. Our stake is doing a food drive right now, specifically to benefit LA fire victims. And we're working with the San Diego Food Bank. And so I just wanted to kind of let you know that if that was something that you might want to consider in working with them and donating that remainder product for that purpose. So that's
So I
all
will let you know, and I think Todd will probably speak to this, but the church has donated several truckloads of food directly to the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank to support the fire victims.
Right.
So yeah, we're not ready yet to donate the food that's in the storehouse, But in addition to the food that's already been donated to the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, the San Diego Food Bank is set to receive a food truck donation. That's a whole separate thing from the fire situation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Okay, so if we're good, I will turn the time over then to Todd Remington and tell us anything about LA you think would be really important for us to know and how we can benefit from them and make our programs here sharper.
Well, okay, I'll share some thoughts and hopefully they're helpful. Some of it is kind of redundant and common sense, but other things were some learnings from the Eaton and Palisades fires. So really, there's in an emergency event, and this is not news, but there's preparation. There's preparation before the event. There's the evacuation during the event, and then there's the post-event recovery. And one of the really important elements in the whole preparation process is the pre-event preparation. And that involves things like having your insurance current. Make sure you evaluate. Members should make sure they've got their homeowner's insurance is current and sufficient, for example. Another good idea is for members to go around with a camera, their phone, and take pictures of everything in their home. So they've all got that digitalized. So if something happens, they've got pictures, and that can facilitate the processing of any insurance claims. And also having sufficient savings in an event like this. And you talk about this a lot. Things like 72-hour kits are great ideas because a number of people in the Eaton and Palisades fire literally had minutes to get out of the house. And a 72-hour kit that's ready to go and be grabbed is very helpful. For them to have in advance an evacuation plan, where they're going to go, and that they keep important documents in one location and or digitalized. So it's not in there. They've got a hard copy, but they've also got it digitalized and it's not in the cloud somewhere. So they've got all their important documents somewhere. And also that they have a means of communication that includes things like have a hard copy list of key contacts, not just on your phone, because you might not get away. Your phone may be gone. Have a hard copy of your key contacts. And another thing that's really important for wards is, and this was a real challenge in the Eaton and Palisades fires, and that is ward records weren't very clean and accurate. And so leaders spent inordinate amounts of time trying to check in on members that weren't there. And so there's a lot of wasted time that goes into that could be used to support members that are there or the community that went into checking up on people that weren't even there. So cleaning the ward records is something that's really important. During an evacuation, you have oftentimes, in this case, some of them had just minutes to get out. So they need to understand how to get out. What are the escape routes so they don't drive into the fire? They know how to drive out. Communication within the stake and communication without the stake is important to have that all prepared and how you're going to communicate. Reliable information about the fire, having a gathering location, having that predetermined that you have a gathering location. Typically, it can be one of the church buildings, can be a gathering location that's outside of the fire area where members can come and then be directed towards other resources. Another thing that we discovered was in our zeal to communicate, we over communicate, and there's redundant communication. And so ideally, there will be the right amount of communication. I don't want to minimize the need to communicate, but unless someone really needs to talk to a church leader, I would say wait. So minimize the amount of communication that oftentimes can become redundant. And post recovery, one of the things we learned, a big thing we learned was slow down, because there's an instant response to want to help. And we want to help in the way we want to help. And oftentimes the way we want to help, frankly, isn't helpful to the people who are have experienced this event. It's difficult for people who have experienced it, and it's something they don't need. And it's very, very hard on the priesthood and Relief Society leadership. They get inundated with phone calls from well-meaning people who want to help. For example, just one example, there was a sister, a just served specialist, stake specialist, and she got a call from her mother-in-law who worked for Minky Couture. If you know that, I didn't know what that was before, but I do now. And the person at Mickey Couture said, we put 400 blankets on a truck, give them to members who need them. Well, it was already on the truck and there was no way to distribute the blankets. Number one, there wasn't the distribution network, and number two, there wasn't the need. And so this poor sister she received 400 Mickey Couture blankets, and honestly, I don't know what she did with them. I gave her a couple of suggestions, but I don't know what she did with them. So good intentions are problematic, and it stresses leaders to continue to get phone call after phone call after phone call. What can we do? I can tell you all kinds of stories about really well-intentioned people who decided they were going to help, and it was really more of a hindrance. And then working with insurance companies, knowing how to work with them post event, and also how to apply for FEMA, because FEMA was the gateway to access the resource hubs that they've organizing up here through VOAD, through ENLA, which is the Emergency Network of Los Angeles, which is the LA County VOAD, and the California State VOAD. They've been organizing these resource hubs where individuals impacted by the fires can come and get financial resources and also commodities. But the way they qualify is they register through FEMA. So it's important to understand how to register through FEMA to get assistance from FEMA, and FEMA does up to 43,000 or something like that. And then there's also California, the OES does 10,000 or something, up to 10,000. But that's one element of it. But if you register with FEMA, then you can also go to these resource hubs and receive some of this additional assistance. Another element is the mid to long-term housing. That's initially can be quite a big challenge for a number of different reasons. Having resources to replace lost items. For example, the church opened up the distribution centers for members who'd lost their homes. They could go down and you don't think about these things, right? Your clothes burned up, but guess what? So did your temple garments burn up. And so they were able to go and get temple garments. The church allowed them to get temple garments for free. And then the members were assisted through fast offerings. And that's why the church asked that members either donate generous fast offerings or go through the humanitarian fund, because then that gave the church resources that it could go here or go there, buy this or do that. It allowed a lot of flexibility. And so fast offering funds can be used for housing. Members can get sent to Desert Industries for clothing or for replacement furniture. They were able to get garments through distribution, so resources like that. Learning, and then it was learning how to work with insurance and government resources. Another big thing is just the emotional stress, the PTSD. In the Eaton fire, we got family services involved right away. They went to the sacrament meetings of the impacted ward and talked about their services, met with some members, and they'll provide ongoing support there. And another element is processing the new normal. What's the new normal with your life? I mean, because there's this initial period where it's headlines, and then you got to go back to work, and you've got your family and kids, and maybe you've lost your home, and it can be very stressful processing that new normal. The church is involved with the resource hubs that they're called multi-agency resource centers that ENLA and VOAD have been organizing up here in the Eaton and Palisade in the Pasadena and Palisades areas. The church has been providing the bulk of the volunteers to staff those centers, and members can go there for assistance too, as long as they've registered with FEMA, and they can receive cash cards or commodities. And then the church has been very involved and remains involved and will remain involved long term. But the church has donated numerous truckloads of food. I don't know the exact number. It's between 5 and 10. And each truck is about 40,000 pounds. So you can do the math. It's between 200 and 400,000 pounds of food. That's why I'm curious what the San Diego Food Bank is up to, because my last communication with the LA Regional Food Bank, and we're sending them another half truckload of food on Tuesday, but my last communication with them was they're inundated. There's no need for food. So I'm intrigued by what San Diego Food Bank is doing, because there is plenty of food up here in the area. The church has donated 26 pallets of bottled water. The church has donated $1.5 million to NGOs, including Salvation Army, Red Cross, International Medical Corps, and Save the Children. So like the church we don't give out cash gift cards at like the Resource Hub, but we give the money to Salvation Army, who then gives out the cash gift cards. It's just the way the church does it. And so the church has donated that money, and then again provided the bulk of the volunteers. And in fact, I'm going tomorrow over to Pasadena and La Crescenta Stakes to meet with an American Red Cross representative, and they're gonna look at 3 buildings as a potential location for additional multi-agency resource centers for individuals impacted by the fire to come and access resources. So there's a very good chance one or more of our church buildings will be used to host those future resource hubs over the next few weeks. And that's kind of a overview of what's been going on. I went into the Altadena area, and it's if you've been around this, it's painful. It was just chimneys. We had an individual, his aunt and uncle's house was in the fire zone area, and he took us in. And so he took us by his aunt and uncle's house, the house was burned. It was a complete loss. And in the midst of looking at this burned house, and it's semi-random, because you'll have 10 houses burned and 3 houses not, and then 5 houses burned. It's just sort of like, where did the ashes go? But while we're in the backyard, and then we're just kind of looking at things, I looked over at this fig tree, and to my absolute shock, this fig tree was beginning to blossom. In the midst of this absolute devastation, this fig tree was beginning to blossom. It reminded me a lot about hope in Christ, looking at this fig tree blossoming. But that's kind of gives you kind of an idea of what's been going on up here with the fires. It will be, and they don't let people in. So sometimes members say, well, we'll go in and we'll help clean up. They don't let you in because initially they want to remove all the toxins, and electric cars are actually a fire hazard because they blow up in fires. And so that's a whole other issue too. But they don't let people in initially to clean up, and it's professionals that have to go in and do most of the cleanup. So they're in the very early stages now of starting to clean up. And one other thing, UVU sent some students down, some architectural students. They came down and they set up shop in the Pasadena Stake Center, and then residents could come in. They registered in advance, and the UVU students went over, looked at their home, and kind of mapped out what the house would have looked like to help with insurance claims and the beginnings of, maybe if they want to rebuild, sort of the beginnings of what that might look like. So those are some of the things that have been going on. Questions that you may have?
Great, thank you. Just a quick clarification. when he talked about the state of California and OES, that's the Office of Emergency Services. We have one here in San Diego, so we have a local county office and then the state office. And I believe they process also small business loans that you have to do stuff through FEMA first to qualify. And it's all sorts of interesting things. When you talked about the church buildings being local resource hubs, Stephen, wouldn't you say that that's the equivalent of what we call a local assistance center? I would imagine that's what that is. So when we have an
Yeah,
emergency,
it was where individuals could come in and they could get access to, yeah, so it sounds like the same thing, Terry.
yeah. And so that's something that as VOAD representatives, which Stephen and I are in San Diego County, we staffed the local assistance center right after the floods in January of 24. And then it transitioned from state to county, and they call it something else. I can't remember, DRC or something like that.
Yeah,
Disaster.
and when we use church buildings for things like this, there needs to be a temporary use agreement and a certificate of insurance that gets worked out with the local FM manager, and then the Office of General Counsel reviews it and makes sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Okay. And then one of the things our VOAD did, they had set up a resource warehouse. So we have a flooding resource warehouse where all the donated items get put, and it is managed under or in conjunction with VOAD and state Office of Emergency Services. And they had to look for a warehouse, which was, we went to see if there were any church buildings available here in San Diego, and we couldn't find any. And so it was eventually a county building that they found. But do you think in the future that's something LA might have to do too, as a resource warehouse, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we would use Mira Loma, the Storehouse in Mira Loma, because
Okay.
it's close enough. That's one of the things too, in a situation like this, the WSRM, Leanie and myself, we're the point of contact. We don't throw the Bishop Storehouse doors open. We work with the stake presidents, and then coordinate through VOAD with the other nonprofits. So there's two types of resources. There's the stake president and getting resources to members from the church. And then there's helping the community, like we're doing, coordinating with VOAD to help with donations and volunteers at these resource hubs. And that gets coordinated through the Welfare and Self-Reliance managers, who then connect all the dots. And so we don't do much, we just connect dots. I think Terry.
Okay. And then, yes, donating to vetted organizations.
Yeah,
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, we
My
like
bad.
for example, the church has a $25,000 fund at the Bishop Desert Industries that the church opened up for nonprofits to use. No one's accessed it, but nonprofits would have contacted the Welfare and Self-Reliance manager to get an agreement so that then they could send individuals over to the Bishop Storehouse to access that community grant, that money that was set aside for that purpose.
Perfect. I know exactly.
Jerry, you're cutting out.
Is that so? Working. Okay, Mike Diamond, I might need you to take over at this point. Mike Diamond, if you can hear me, you might need to start running this while I'm in a dead zone.
Yes, I will do that. I will take over. It's how much longer do we want to go, Terry? It's 8:15 approximately.
Mike?
Right. Let's open it up for a few questions for Todd, and then continue.
Okay, can you stay, Todd?
Yes, I'm good for about another 15 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. So we'll open up to questions. Go ahead.
Mike, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I actually, they weren't in fires like what we're talking tonight, but I've actually lost 2 properties in fires, and it's not been fun. But one of the most important things that I learned, and my whole background is real estate, and my insurance company completely failed me because just before one of the fires, I had contacted them to try to ensure that I had everything I needed. And so I wanted to just kind of bring this up in this group as we're talking about a couple of things and just add a little bit with my own experience. And that is that if you have a home, most of the time, there's what's called an endorsement that is, excuse me, that's usually included, but often in your rental properties, it's not. And that's called a code upgrade endorsement. And I would strongly encourage anyone who has a home to make sure that your insurance includes that endorsement because that's literally thousands and thousands of dollars. In one case, my duplex in Redlands that burned, it had been originally built in 62. It caught fire in 2015. And so between 2015 and 2016, I was rebuilding that. And thank you, Todd. I see you're shaking your head. Because I didn't have that code upgrade, I wound up having to come out of pocket for a substantial amount of cash because of things like water sprinkler systems. And so I just wanted to kind of share that and encourage each of you to consider looking at that. The other thing is that as I've been going through and really working on getting my awards and stake prepared, and I firmly believe in everything we've been talking about. One of the approaches that we looked at, and I'm not doing it right now so much in my wards, but I've done it in my own home, is my husband and I literally walked around the house and we did 3 plans very quickly. If we had to evacuate in 5 minutes, what would we take? If we had 15 minutes, what would we take? If we had 30 minutes, what would we take? And I typed those out, and they're in taped, or I don't know how you put them up, but they're on the inside of our closet, one of our emergency closets. And so if we had to evacuate, we would each grab one of those pages so we wouldn't have to communicate. It was like, Erlene will do this, Steve will do this. And so those are just a couple of things that I wanted to share as part of what I'm doing in our area.
No, thank you very much, Elaine, for sharing that. That's great information. Anybody have any questions for Todd, please?
Yes, Brother Remington, Jerry Hansen again from the Oklahoma State. Is anything, or are you going to do anything to educate the members of the various wards and stakes that have been affected, those that not necessarily were affected, but using this whole disaster, if you will, as an educational tool for the other members that were not affected? I'm trying to figure out how you bring everything together so that the members that were not affected are brought up to date as to those that were affected and what's being done and the procedures and things so that they get educated like we are.
Yeah, Jerry, that is a great question and a great suggestion. One of the other learnings is don't think it can't happen here. And you know, we're going to try to get that out. We're in our North America West area. We're going to put together a document to give to the priesthood and religious leadership now that will talk about these kinds of learnings. What they do with them, we can't. We're the professional side. We can encourage and invite, but it's up to them to implement. But we'll give them material if they choose to implement the material. It'll be groups like yours that will hopefully provide the motivation for the stakes and the impetus to get just a little better prepared.
Well, that's what we're doing, Brother Remington, in our stake. I'm the stake emergency response coordinator, and I'm literally meeting with every ward council.
Yeah, that's
so we have a plan completely in place, and I won't go through all of it because it's pretty comprehensive what we're doing. But everything that I'm hearing from you, I would say those of us that are here, we take it back and we are that conveyor of that information.
Thank you, Erlene. Do you have time for another question, Brother
Sure.
Remington?
Sure.
Okay, anybody?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Moss. Yeah. So in 1996, we had a nasty fire come through Elfland Forest. It was called the Harmony Grove Fire. We only lost 4 homes in Elfland Forest, Harmony Grove, but they lost 120 homes in La Costa. And that I was not prepared for that fire. I had a 9-month-old. I didn't bring diapers. I was not. My 6-year-old was better prepared. She put together a great 72-hour kit. But at this point, what I do now is I have Pulse Point, and I've got all the fire departments encircling around, my community. And I was going to say the Harmony Grove fire burned up to the house across the street from me. Didn't burn our house though. At any rate, now if I know there's a Santa Ana and I know there's a fire in Escondido, even though it may be 10 miles away from me, we pack our car then that night and go to bed, because if fires can sneak up on you, and you know how those embers can go. And so we pack it, and we're ready to go. And if we don't need to evacuate, then we unpack the car. Yay. But you just can't sit back and say, oh, it's not going to happen to me. I mean, I was going through my evacuation checklist that, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I have a little Kia. I'm going to get the pets in there. And my daughter's got a Kia and my husband's got a Subaru. But if he's gone, we're not going to get much of anything out in the house. So, now I'm thinking about getting fire blankets and pulling a bunch of stuff out and throwing it into my backyard. They say that we just went to some kind of it was what was it? It was called Last Chance Survival Simulation. Tactical engagement principles and vocabulary. It was the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County. It was a really, really interesting presentation. And they were talking about if you can't get out, because they interviewed people and had it on film of people that could not evacuate. And they said, go to an open space area where, like a park that has no trees or anything around there.
Yeah, Mickey, said, I don't know of anybody who's more prepared than you are.
No, I'm
information.
No, but it's good.
We have just a few more minutes for Brother Remington here with us. Do we have anybody with a question for Brother Remington?
Yeah, could we ask a question, and that being, any insights with respect to how the full-time mission and full-time missionaries were incorporated into any communications or emergency preparedness or any learnings for the mission?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there is a little bit of a disconnect between the mission and the ecclesiastical and the WSRMs. The mission kind of tends to be over here on its own. We report up to Salt Lake the status of members, their homes, missionaries, their apartments, church buildings, and impact on the community. And we report that at least daily for the first week or 10 days of the event, depending on how long the event lasts. One of the areas where we don't have good communication is with the mission. We just don't get good communication from the mission. I know some missionaries were evacuated, their apartments weren't burned, so they were able to go back to their apartments. But that is an area where there's not really good communication, because we don't interact much with the missions. And so we don't really have that good communication with them to know what's going on with the missionaries. Oftentimes we kind of hear that secondhand that they evacuated.
How would you recommend the mission communicate?
Well, that would be presumptuous of me to make a suggestion, but if, like, when a fire happens, I text the stake president and he knows what I'm going to ask him, and I'll just ask him about those items and include the missionaries. And if the mission president was receptive to being in that text chain, because it's usually the stake president in the area 70 and myself on the text chain, if he's amenable to being on the text chain, I can include him on the text chain as well. So he would then be able to report on his missionaries. Probably be the easiest way to do it.
Can I interject something here? Sister Blake, I wanted to thank you for sending out the latest information and keeping the information of where the missionaries live updated stake by stake. That goes to every stake president in the mission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I liked what you said, Brother Remington. We encourage and invite. They have this information if they want to incorporate it into their emergency response and communication plan. In our ward, we have people who are assigned to check in on those. We have assigned missionaries in our boundaries and some assigned that are outside of our boundaries, and we have a number of missionaries who are living in our boundaries that we don't know of unless we
You're
get
right.
this
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
from the mission. So thank you so much. That's very, very important because what it will eliminate is a lot of double effort, because we'll be looking for the missionaries, the mission will be looking for the missionaries, and if we can just kind of consolidate it and report it to the stake president, report it to the bishop who reports to the stake president, we'll be in good shape.
Great.
Thank you.
Great point, Mike.
Terry, you look like you've been thawed for a while. Do you have
Am I
anything to say?
unthawed now? I just definitely want to reiterate that having that conversation ahead of time with leadership to make sure everybody buys in to this is how it's going to go, establishing that kind of protocol or chain of command would be part of your emergency response plan, and getting those permissions in play so that it's ready to go when we start processes like that. So that was my thought. You're turning it back over to me. Is that what
If
you're
you
saying?
want.
I have a question. I have a question.
George,
This
if
is
you want.
Steve. This is
Go ahead.
Steve. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Steve. I have a question. I go to the VOAD meetings here in San Diego every month, and we need to report always what the church is doing with response to the floods or whatever. And my main response is that about the young church service missionaries. I heard there were a lot of young church service missionaries serving up in LA. We've had at least 4 down here at the warehouse that serve every week. They're not as many anymore. Can you comment as to what involvement the young church service missionaries have up in LA? Because they want to hear a report at VOAD as to what the church is doing in Southern California.
Yeah, Steve, that's a good question. The missionaries have helped at these resource hubs. There's been 2 now, and they've been. I mean, the church has donated it's like 2,500 or 3,000 service hours through the volunteers, and the missionaries are a big part of that. I don't know. I'd be willing to speculate that the church service missionary, the service missionaries, young service missionaries were involved, but I don't know that for sure. That gets tracked through the Communications Council, the volunteer hours. So I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't involved.
Well, I learned things from VOAD about what LDS people do that I don't know. As you say, they're much more aware, and the report I get, they love their young church service missionaries. They are so mature and so capable and so engaged compared to just getting some volunteer that's looking for some money, that they love their missionaries. And the missionaries love learning how to to use tools or forklifts or whatever, and getting a certification while they're doing that. So it's been a very positive experience in San Diego.
Yeah, totally. In fact, when they were organizing the hub in Pasadena, another organization had offered volunteers, and they actually turned to us and said, "Can you provide the volunteers? Because your volunteers, we know they'll happen, and we'll know they'll be dependable." So they really do look to the church for volunteers.
Can I just ask on that volunteer note? We were encouraged to use Just Serve to garner volunteers, but we found it kind of a difficult process because of wording. You have to know what you're looking for when you're searching for that volunteer opportunity. So getting that information and direct the Relief Society presidents and Elders Forum presidencies.
So they did that differently, Terry.
Okay.
That's a great point, and I didn't mention that. But the assistant communication director also serves on NLAW's board, and I was coordinating with him, and he was working with Elder Rosa, the Area 70. He got permission from Elder Rosa to go directly to the stakes to ask for volunteers. And so it didn't go through Just Serve. It went directly to stake leadership through the communications channels within the stakes. And that's how they got the volunteers.
And I would imagine in future emergencies in San Diego, that's where we go first, is finding out if we have permission to contact the stakes. And if not, then it goes just through just serve. So, okay. I know we're right at the 8:30 time. So if you have to leave, I think there's just a few more things. So, oh, clarification from Sister Jimenez here. All right. Make sure you check the chat, everyone, so you can see if there's information in there that you might want to capture. But Sister Jimenez says, for clarification, those receiving assistance will not receive vouchers. Leaders will continue to enter orders online in Bishop Storehouse orders. So more information there on the Bishop Storehouse. Thank you. Any other questions for Brother Remington? Then let me quickly just mention a few things. Storehouse closing, the spring communication exercise. Oh, the new Southern California fire high fire severity maps are coming out March 24th. It will affect San Diego County greatly. I know specifically in my area because I've been talking to the fire chief for Poway, where I live. Where quite a bit of Poway was already in the high fire severity zone, and it affects your insurance, right? Now almost all of Poway will be in that high fire severity zone. So they're moving and upgrading and, those increasing those areas where the high fire severity zone is. And that will definitely affect many people's insurance and how they interact and get their coverage. So I just want to make you aware that you can look it up on CAL FIRE website. We'll be posting that, and you should be able to get the updates. If not, your local fire safe council, or contact me, and I can get you links to your areas. And then we encourage, of course, we always have a fall communication exercise. We do encourage a biannual exercise, and some stakes do hold a spring exercise. You may not be doing that now or have any plans for that now, but it is something to consider for future. There's all sorts of different ways you can do it without taxing leadership or members. With an extensive exercise, it can be a shortened version, a text, version only, or however you want to make that look. But we really encourage some sort of effort so that your communications are up to date on a 6-month basis rather than a yearly basis. Brother Guyman, let me turn over a few minutes to you to speak about communication.
Well, thank you very
And I'd
much.
like to get more training on that, please, Brother Guyman. Best practices.
Well, we need to talk. I'm looking for your phone number, but I can't seem to find it.
916 216 9434. So if you give me a call, I'd appreciate it.
I certainly will.
Thank you, sir.
216 9434.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Brother Remington, the thing that you mentioned during your enlightening presentation was that you are reporting daily. So we kind of think of, when you think of this event, you're going to send out, your request to get information. But in reality, it may not come immediately, especially if the infrastructure's down, if you're depending on telephones and text messages and things like that. That's going to trickle in. And so that makes sense that, our communications will need to be daily with our various leaders and the people that need to report to Salt Lake. So, that's something we need to keep in mind as we encourage and explain to different organizations that are willing to move forward with this, that they need to be prepared to do it daily, and it's going to trickle in. I think that's one of the reasons Elder Clark has suggested that we have a boots on the ground approach, because that's about as low as you can get on a low tech information gathering, is walking it in your neighborhoods, and that takes time. You're not going to get everybody the first day, second day, or third day. They may not even be home, and you want to be checking back on them. So, thank you so much for your time and being here. Lots to talk about emergency communication. Things are developing. We're learning a lot about what's going on, and so we'll be talking about that. We have not been having our monthly Zoom meetings, but we're going to do them quarterly. So we'll have one of those coming up, or we'll have a number of topics that we'll delve a little bit deeper. And so, thank you, Terry.
Okay. Seemed like there was one other question and it just kind of left my brain. Well, I was thinking of the Griffins and the Penasquita steak, and I know that you have kind of partitioned out a lot of the connections and responsibility to the Elders Quorum president. So as you often say, you have a closer seat to the head of the table. And I just want to make sure if there are people that you think could benefit from this meeting, besides just yourself, that would like to have the information directly, feel free to invite them when we have these monthly meetings. And then they can get that information directly and not have to, get it third hand from you, or however you want to disseminate that. But I just want to put that out there. I don't think I have anything else on the agenda that's pressing. So are there any other things that need to be mentioned before we part ways tonight?
Terry?
Yes.
I'd like to share just one thing. We're doing a lot of things, but we've had some situations recently, medical situations, and I am very hopeful that we're going to get AEDs in our church buildings. But one of the situations that arose, we actually had a medical emergency, and the gentleman who was able to respond was first responder that was right there. Used to be an EMT, so he was able to help the situation. He's now a dispatcher, and he realized that he didn't know the address of the church building. So I wanted to kind of bring that issue forward to everybody here. We are literally going through and making address cards, 911, and I've got one from one gentleman who on my team who's prepared. I've got one other that's coming in, so I'll have two different types that I'll be taking to my stake and saying, can I use both of them? Do you want me to use one of them? Those kind of things. But I just wanted to bring that issue forward and just encourage you that to take steps to ensure that the address of your building is posted throughout your building. So in the event of an emergency and you're calling 911, you can give them that address, which is vital information that they have to have.
Great, thank you. One of the things I know has come up, especially in the Poway stake, about possibly investigating getting the defibrillators into the buildings. And we've always been told that, I don't know if it's an FM thing, but we've kind of always been put on hold with that and never been given the go ahead. So let me know if that goes ahead with you and your processes where we might reinvestigate that. So.
I've been working on it since right after I got called, and it literally, in fact, I saw a message just before I came here. So it's like, they want to meet on the 30th to kind of finalize everything. So I think we're one step away from actually getting them approved. I found the right person, and I've got the right people, I think, in the room. And
perfect. So. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other input, we appreciate everybody's participation, and hopefully this was interesting and gave you some good things to chew on and take back to your precinct leadership and discuss and help you respond.
Hey, this is Patrick Walker. I have a little bit of input. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just introducing myself and my wife from the Hillsdale Ward, and Brother Hanson brought us partially into this, but I'm the battalion chief for CAL FIRE for Southwest San Diego County, and my wife's fire captain. So a lot of these things that we're talking about, we could probably help ease and translate folks, such as fire hazard severity zones, and all those things. That's my full-time job. So that, along with this being a member, we're looking forward to help. So that's us. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
That's fantastic news. Okay, so now I got a name. Jerry has kind of told me this was in the works and bringing you and your wife, I believe, on board together. Is that right?
Yes.
We look forward
They were
to
just
collaborating.
They were just called this last Sunday, so they are pretty new.
Well, great. We look forward to your input and collaboration in helping us keep these programs relevant and so we can be of assistance. Like Brother Remington was saying, we don't want to be a hindrance, and we want to work with the resources that county has in play and be a good participant. So,
Absolutely. Thank you.
great. Anything else, anyone? Perfect. Then